Now we're coming to one of the most exciting parts of the agenda today, which is the ATEC 2021 Startup Competition. As you can see up on the board, here are our 8 finalists. One of the interesting things about the ATEC 2021 Startup Competition, apart from the fact that it took 17 full months to organize, which I guess in startups time is basically 10 years, is that we enlisted the help of all the alumni clubs, all the regional alumni clubs in Asia, to generate through their network and nominate and basically act as mini VC GPs to nominate startups that they thought could help represent their clubs in the ATEC Startup Competition. So from over 100 nominated startups, from over 35 alumni clubs throughout Asia, these are the final 8 narrowed down through a series of rounds, actually, pitching before our esteemed VC judges. And today we will hear their final pitches. So for our judges today, we are very lucky to have some of the best early stage investors in Asia. We have Daniel Auerbach, Senior Managing Partner, Head of Global Ventures at 8 Roads. We have Chigo Chang, Managing Partner at Gobi Partners, which is the manager of the Alibaba Hong Kong Entrepreneurs Fund. We have Jimmy Chang, founder and partner of Generation Capital. And we have Stephanie Hui, Managing Director and co-head of the Merchant Banking Division at Goldman Sachs. So thank you very much, and we're looking forward to hearing what questions you have for the startups. So in terms of format today, each of the 8 startups will have approximately 3 minutes to pitch, a very, very pithy, very short, sharp pitch, but they will have a total of 12 additional minutes to field Q&A from our VC judging panel. Now, remember, what is special about the ATEC Startup Competition is that audience votes will help also determine who will be the ATEC Startup winner of the year. So our judges will have a weighted vote. They'll count for 50% of the vote, but your audience votes both online and here in person will also help determine which will be the top 3. So I'll give you some instructions about voting after the pitches are complete, but keep in mind as they go through these 8 finalists, which of the 3 stand out most to you, and you would get your vote. So without further ado, I think we're ready to start. And so I'd like to invite up to the stage our first startup, Avant, pioneering animal protein technologies.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My great pleasure and very grateful to be here. Thank you for ATEC and fellow judges and also guests. I'm very happy to introduce Avant here. What we do. Seems like it's not. Okay. We produce a new kind of fish that is produced sustainably without the need to catching and slaughtering fish in a fully traceable and clean and controlled environment that is definitely free from any marine pollutants. Why we need to do that? We're now facing a situation whereby the world population is not sufficiently supported by the natural resources of the planet. The problem is traditional animal aquaculture is not very efficient. It is as low as 10 to 50%. When it comes to fish, the supply is not looking very well. The fishing is leading to a lower and lower harvest every year. Aquaculture as a solution is limited by the domesticated species as well as has its own set of environmental impact. Because of that, we have already exploited 90% of marine ecosystem. And however, on the demand side, it is actually growing. Asia consuming 60% of the global produce of seafood. China is double on the average, global average on per capita consumption. If we think about that, we do not know that actually greenhouse gas emission intensity, when it comes to fish, is very similar to pork. It also contribute a very decent contribution to the greenhouse gas emission. And for us as consumers, do we not from time to time worry about the fish that we eat, does it contain any of this? because these are simply not even visible to our naked eyes. For businesses, they are constantly facing additional challenges posed by the climate changes. Therefore, cultivated meat is a huge opportunity, over 600 billion. We use that simple solution using cell line, feed them with the nutrient, provide a structure for it to grow on, put it in an environment that it is the same condition. And in about 2 months' time, we can produce a product. It has the opportunity of only having a fraction of the environmental impact as a conventional version. A lot of operations already putting money into this field. Avant is the first cultivated fish and the leading cultivated fish company in this space. We started in 2018, already launched multiple products like fish maw, fish fillet, and marine peptide. We are already awarded by the World Economic Forum as the Technology Pioneer. We now operate out of Hong Kong as well as Singapore. We have already achieved one of the major cost reduction, 90% as of last year. And for the remaining 10%, we are working on multi-pronged approach captured in our IP portfolio. We have also a John's Lab in Singapore. Coming forward, we are working on the plan.
Thank you. I think time's up for the pitch section, so I think you can continue the discussion with the VC
Okay,
judges.
thank you.
So judges, please go ahead.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us about your production?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. We are actually having a pilot plant to be up and running by the end of next year. So we will start producing our food and also developing 2 consumer brands, Avant and Cellulin. Avant for such as these, like fish burgers that we can find that even in fast food shop and fast moving food services. Cellulin for functional protein, and we have multiple products already developed, just waiting to be starting producing. We supply it to food services as well as product development. And beyond that, we look to globally expand through partnership and technology licensing. Thank you very much for the question.
So if I could, excuse me, start, just can you break down a little bit your target customer segments, your distribution, your channels, how you think about that product by product?
Right, sure. So for the fish maw as well as the fish fillet, our initial market segment will be food services. For example, we received inquiry from Chinese restaurant in Hong Kong, very interested to incorporate fish maw in the recipe. For fish fillet, it can also be going to Western restaurant. And of course, beyond our first scale production, when we scale up, we can also develop that into consumer product that we can start selling in supermarket. For the peptide, it is actually an active ingredient that can incorporate it into skincare product. So we have already shipped out samples to some ingredient dealer and distributor. They can be supplied to skincare like cream and lotion product developer to develop new product line. So I would say that they will be both B2B as well as B2B2C.
Can you talk about price point? Because for a lot of replacement foods, if they are trying to price like fish, people thought it's too expensive. It's priced like plant, they thought it was too cheap. So where are you going to be here?
Yeah, so very good question. So we are doing the cost reduction. At the moment, we operate about, for example, this filet burger, one piece of that is about $10 per kg in the direct material cost. Of course, it needs to further reduce. We're looking at around 2024 to reach the premium category of the wholesale price of the fish fillet. However, I would have to stress that price parity is not essential for the first revenue generation, because the technology is basically, the underlying technology is basically the same in terms of cost. That's why we have other more expensive conventional product in our offering, including fish maw and marine peptide. So our plan is to start selling these 2 categories of product. And then as our cost reduction reaching very close to the fish fillet conventional price, we will be also selling the fish fillet. So this is our plan for the price drop as well as how we go to commercialize.
Can you talk a little bit about nutrients in terms of how this compares with traditional fish?
Okay, sure. So for this, we pick the cells from a living fish, develop that into cell line. And when we grow and the product out of the bioprocess, it will be identical in terms of the biochemical and even down to the DNA. So on the cell-to-cell comparison, it is the same as the fish cells. Down to the product, I would have to provide a description of the product upcoming. There will be multiple generation product, just like iPhone and other technology product. The first generation product will be mostly a hybrid product. What it means that we have the scaffold for the cell to grow on, generally plant-based and edible, plus the cells that contribute to the protein. So ultimately, the nutrient will come from both the animal cells as well as the plant protein, plus together with dietary fiber. So this will be generation product number 1. Generation 2 product, which we are also developing, is actually the whole tissue forming as if they are growing on a living fish. So that will be matching a lot closer. As in other technology, smartphone and PC, it will take a little bit time to be getting to the perfect kind of, apple to apple comparison. This is what we are projecting that it will be going to market to begin with. So to answer your question again, on the cell level, it is the same. Down to the product level, it will be subject to the actual product combination of the cell as well as the scaffold, which is a plant-based material.
Hey, Carrie. I think we met maybe about a year ago.
Yeah.
At that time, I think you were still working on the fish maw.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like the mass production capabilities were there, right? Because obviously this is cell-based protein. A lot of it is in the lab. You guys were able to do, some cell cultures, but you weren't able to make full cell lines, nor were you able to get like an actual product. Can you update as to the overall progress of the product, and now that you're pushing out these 2 other lines, how realistic are these to be rolled out in the next 2 years, 2-3 years?
Yeah, sure. So we did start with the fish maw because it's more premium product to begin with. In terms of price parity, it's easier to be working around the selling price. So that's why we started with that. I think, about more than a year ago, we were working on the cost reduction R&D. So for example, the fetal bovine serum that we have already replaced, which is contributing to 90% cost reduction. And we now have also multiple fish cell lines, including yellow quokka, grouper, as well as red snapper. So in terms of product, we also develop in our portfolio as well. These are the other IP and technology that focus on the cost reduction. So I can share that, the first cost cut, which is 90%, is purely coming from the removal of the fetal bovine serum, which is the top key driver. We already removed that as of July last year, and using the other method, including making the cell line more productive, also improving on the bioprocess, we have projected that our cost will be reaching, about below 50. Could be around $30 to $40 per kg, in the next couple of years. So that is on the technology and the R&D development and IP development. In terms of the production, because we already done the cost, 90% cost reduction, that's why we now can run larger volume of the bioreactor, up to about 5 liter. And then the next 2 steps is to go up from there to 50 and 200 liter. In our pilot plant, it will be a bioreactor of about 2,000 liter. We are conducting the upstream process development in the laboratory in Singapore. So we're looking to have that pilot plant production towards the end of next year. And so from there, we can start selling as well as growing the capacity the year following.
This is not meant to be provocative, but it probably will be. There's a lot of startups in the space, and some are more mature, some are less mature. Cell-based scale-up process manufacturing is not breakthrough science. It's a fairly straightforward process. But it does take time to sort of select your cells, select your species, select your product, and then build the various plumbing systems around that, and so on. But at the end of the day, can you tell me what is your end game? Are you wanting to go full stack here, end to end, fully integrated, really build a business of size, or is there something that you feel is deeply proprietary here that will be very attractive to the many competitors that are there today and the many who will come tomorrow pretty rapidly in this space?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Actually, important. We at the moment we want to do full stack because our experience is that if we outsource any one of these aspects of the R&D, we cannot do because the whole process is one related to the other. Cell line is closely related to customization of medium, and how the cell grow is the bioprocess also very relevant. We feel a lot of advantages if we do things holistically, at least at the beginning. And we managed to find the gap in the technology space. A lot of the proprietary solution for the cost reduction in the respective aspects of the process, we haven't heard, no other people are talking that amount of peers. So we develop our proprietary solution to improve on those idea and to drive the IP. And so to answer your question, what we're thinking at, if we do full stack, we can ensure we can go to market on our own without relying on a third party. That could be a lot of risk. The second is that we can have a lot of creativity if we combine everything together. We actually learn a lot from that. Last but not least, this industry, technology-wise, will be very much like smartphone and PC, in my opinion. It will be a lot of cross-licensing, and let's say we are very good in the two. Maybe the other, peer are actually good at the third one. We could do collaboration, and our bottom line is to make our own operation, our business, growing and increasing the margin. So if we starting with a good portfolio of IP, ultimately we could also license to our peers and also use in other ways as well.
Just to press on that point a little bit more, if you look at some of these plant-based or alternative food sources, they try to go to supermarkets, whatnot, with a full wall of products. So maybe start with burgers, pork, and then it comes with fish. And it's only then can you have negotiating power getting onto the shelves. So you have single product and your go-to-market strategies by yourself. So how do you actually fight against the giants out there that are already in the market?
Yeah, that's another good question. Our thoughts around that is that at the beginning, we will be branded ingredient supplier, a little bit similar to Gore-Tex or Intel, whereby they produce a very core important part of the material, but then they do not do the end product, like they do not do the windbreaker, but then they sell the fabric. So we would like to partner with food product company out there, because for them, they also need to explore new product line, sustainable solutions, and cruelty-free options for the consumers, which a lot of people now care about. So in the beginning, we can build out our own visibility and also the access like that way. Definitely, the fish fillet is very versatile. Now it's like the fillet. It could be also fish fingers and also other format. So down the line, we can also have multiple products in different formats. As we're going to that stage, we can also address the supermarket kind of scenario in that approach.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carrie. I think we're out of time, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now I'd like to introduce, I'd like to bring up the stage. Thank you. I'd like to bring up to stage GenieBiome, breaking the wall of colon cancer to save lives.
Thank you. So cancer is like no other disease. It can creep out on you anytime. Just like the star actor, when we see in the next slide, please. Chadwick Boseman was only 43 when he died of colon cancer, and he's been battling it for 4 years. This could happen to any of us or even your family. So the real question is, why have we failed to prevent colon cancer? One simple reason. Many people just don't get tested early enough. And the reason for this is simple. Current screening test is invasive, it's unpleasant. Who wants to have such a test? So at GenieBiome, we offer a new solution. We are breaking the wall of colon cancer detection using novel bugs inside your gut. How do we start this story? Every single cancer develops from a polyp. It grows inside you slowly without you knowing. By the time it becomes a tomato-sized lesion, it starts to bleed. Current non-invasive test detects blood in the stool. By then, it's too late. So over a decade, our research team at the Chinese University of Hong Kong has identified the bacteria that cause colon cancer. And now, through these trillions of bacteria you can see here, today, we have managed to successfully hone down to the keystone bacteria species gene markers that can predict your risk of colon cancer. We call this M3. What do our data show? With this disruptive technology, with just 1 teaspoon of stool sample collected in the comfort of your home, we can predict your risk of cancer and polyps with high accuracy. Our data show M3 is as good as a gold standard colonoscopy, close to 100% sensitivity in detecting colon cancer. Not only that, M3 technology, compared to other non-invasive stool tests, you could see fails to detect polyps or early cancer. Now, M3 technology can bridge this unmet need in actually leading to higher accuracy for both early lesion detection. And all of this can be available to you in just 4 hours using our in-house machine learning algorithm. This is supported by robust science and 8 patents across 5 jurisdictions with freedom to operate. Unimaginable, the population that can actually benefit from this, as you can see here, is completely ginormous. But to us, this is not just a dream. We have actually launched M3 earlier this year in Hong Kong. To our key adopters are doctors, insurers, as well as healthcare clinics. We are now conducting clinical trials in mainland China with the aim of regulatory approval in a few years' time. The 2 key differentiators from GenieBiome is the disruptive technology driven by science. Secondly, over 20 years of research experience.
I think we can move on to the Q&A.
And you can see that these are our co-founders here. And we are raising Series B funding. And I think this technology is going to be applicable to the rest of the world as well. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for the speech. Can we just clarify, because there's already products in the marketplace like New Horizon, who is listed and already testing. And on the other hand, there's colonoscopy. So where are you, and what exactly is this technology? If you could clarify.
Absolutely. I just invited my co-founder, Francis, as well on stage. So you're absolutely right. I mean, I think currently with non-invasive stool tests, the M3 technology, there are 3 key differentiators. It detects the gene marker inside the bacteria, so which means that our human DNA cannot be edited. We cannot change it. And current stool tests, which you mentioned, and a few in America, detect the DNA of the human. But with the bacterial gene marker, we have a potential to completely change it to reduce your risk over time. This is the first differentiator. The second differentiator is that right now, most of these tests detect colorectal cancer. It's too late when it starts sort of bleeding. This test detects cancer even before it develops, which is the actual sort of polyp. So I think with that actually you can have early detection and you can also have prevention as well. So these are the 2 key differentiators.
Can you share some more stats? This is kind of interesting. Can you share some more stats in terms of like false positives, the size of polyps, these types of things that you're able to find?
Yes. So currently, this is probably the only test that can detect the small polyps, because we know that polyps can be in different sizes. The larger the polyp, the higher the risk of colorectal cancer. Now we can detect up to less than 1 centimeter of actual polyp size. So when the polyp becomes 1 centimeter and above, we know that it may bleed. So the current stool test detects blood in the stool, but small polyps don't generally bleed. So you wouldn't know you actually have it. And with that sensitivity, we can reach up to above 70%. But these are only 4 gene markers. We are now expanding to several other gene markers. And we believe that over time, with the small polyps, it can go as close as even the colonoscopy, which is completely invasive. I think the second point to make is right now, after you have a polyp, it will be removed during colonoscopy. which means every single individual will need to repeat colonoscopy after every 1 or 2 years to monitor for that. M3 is the only world technology right now that can predict the recurrence of pollen. So I imagine one day you don't need a repeat colonoscopy. You just repeat a stool test at home every 6 months. And if that test is negative, we have a 90% sensitivity that you don't need a colonoscopy. It's completely safe to just monitor. So this will be the first non-invasive monitoring tool, apart from the screening aspect as well, which is different from any other competitor right now in the market.
I'll just sort of use your slide here as the visual aid, but you mentioned FTO and your multiple patents. Can you just sort of hone in on exactly why this creates enormous or semi-enormous barrier, your IP estate, and what the value of that is? And then I guess the second question is somewhat related. Your data and your algorithm that you alluded to earlier, tell us a little bit more about why that matters, how that works, and what sort of learning that's going to provide in terms of rapid escalation of accuracy, predictability, and so on.
Sure. So I'll take the first question, and then Francis the second. I think the first question relates to the IP. So as we know currently, filing IP for something that's natural, which is a bacteria, is really not really justified based on the South American guidelines. So the IP that we protect is actually based on the very big reference data set, as well as the machine learning algorithm of the ratio of each of the bacteria that is present in a person. So give you, for instance, there are maybe 4 bacteria that can drive colon cancer, but each bacteria may drive it at a different rate. So if you have too much of it, we know that that is a key marker that can basically be the main. So I think this protection, no one can copy it because you won't have the reference data set of thousands and thousands of individuals to know what healthy is in order to know what cancer, is. So that without that algorithm, you will not be able to reach that sort of sensitivity.
So why does what is FTO? How does that relate to an algorithm? You mentioned you had freedom to operate, but based on
yes,
I'm sorry,
that's
on
right.
what?
So at the moment, the license of the IP is exclusively licensed from the Chinese CC of Hong Kong with 18 years of lifespan in order to operate this IP at the moment. And I think related to your second question, which is doing the clinical trials at the moment, in order to get into the regulatory approval stage, at the moment we are conducting clinical trials in different sites around the world because we have sort of networks of hospitals in China and different areas of Asia, Singapore, of Malaysia. So it's very important to make sure that this actually technology or innovation is also relevant to the rest of the sort of Asian. At the moment, the bacteria in our gut really differs according to your ethnicity and where you come from, basically.
And do you have a chief medical officer?
Yes, we have a chief medical.
And who is that?
She's actually...
or just describe her background.
The background of the chief medical officer, she graduated from Medical University in China. And we chose her as a chief medical officer because she has got the kind of connection, the network with our sister hospitals and our extensive hospital network in China.
So your trial design, how does that look?
Yes. The
size of the design.
Oh, the clinical trials.
Yeah.
The clinical trials would be based on probably 5,000 subjects because for a screening sort of population, we need to test the sensitivity for that. And sort of according to that with the fecal occult blood test, which is the sort of stool test. So right now, this will be in the Greater Bay sort of region.
That's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
that's the reason why we want to do this Series B fundraising.
And you did a Series A when?
About 15 months ago. We completed.
And how much did you raise, if I may ask?
We raised $4 million.
And what are you intending to raise in the Series
10 million
B?
US.
10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because getting regulatory approval is crucial for sort of an NMPA, but with what Mr. Leon has mentioned, I think it's now more positive now being able to get into the regulatory network to get the regulatory approval NMPA in China.
Has it been 18 months already since your Series A? I think our team talked to you guys in that round, right?
About yes, about
it's
probably
18
12,
months. Oh,
yeah,
that is
12,
like,
yeah, 1 year ago.
So maybe can you guys just give us some color on how the progress of the product has been in the Hong Kong market since you guys have launched? Like what are the key challenges in the go-to-market? What are the key challenges you're getting? The questions you're getting from the hospitals or the doctors or the people who are using it?
Yes, absolutely. So we launched that about 6 months ago, and the medical endorsement is very important to us because healthcare professional, ultimately this is cancer, this is a sort of condition. So we go B to sort of B at the moment. So it's launched in several private hospitals in Hong Kong right now, and also in several general sort of practitioner, because this is a primary screening test. So healthcare insurance and healthcare checkup would actually then incorporate this test. I think the key, challenges really is thinking about trying to increase compliance of screening. Right now in Hong Kong, only about 10 to 20% of people actually above the age of 45 we know should receive colorectal cancer screening, but 80% don't. So I think the challenge is the public education and the medical endorsement in order to tell the public that this is going to be partly customer driven as well as doctor driven.
I think we do have the kind of advantage in that we are clinicians and experts in the field, well known both locally and also internationally. So since we started launching this product some 6 months ago, it's been pretty well received in most of the private hospitals in Hong Kong. So our next step is really to, based on our brand name, to go into mainland China. But to get regulatory approval, first of all, we have already established the network of hospitals requiring to do this multi-center clinical trial in the mainland China with thousands of patients. And then, so these are our advantage, but trying to get the regulatory approval, that really takes time. So that's the reason why we need a COO who are from mainland China, who understand and try to work with the people in mainland China.
Judges, we have about 2 minutes left, so time for one more question.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a kind of a side note that, I think that this is obviously a very interesting technology. I think it's a very specific cancer screening test. There are a lot of other stool test providers out there. It's from a patient and a doctor perspective, or maybe more from a patient perspective, it's very difficult to tell the difference between maybe your bacterial markers and other colon cancer screening tests. And even there are a couple of like very big stool test provider companies out there, but I think it's taken them a very long time to get to any type of scale. For the ones that are from China, I think that they're maybe like 30 to 50 mil US in revenue after many years. Mm-hmm. And so I think like you guys will be facing a lot of challenges regarding the market size and educating the market for people to do it more. Do you see like a turning point to that? Like, do you feel like there is at some point down the line there is this is something that is going to be integrated into annual physical tests, or is there anything that you guys can do in that regard, like maybe working with insurance partners to make it mandatory or things like that?
To answer the question, I guess our main differentiator that no other companies can compete is that we can change our patient's fate. Other tests, you test the tumor DNA, you test the human genome, you can't change, but I tell your patient, now you've got this bad bacteria leading to your cancer, but by changing this bad bacteria, changing the gut environment, I can change your fate, your future risk of developing cancer. So this is really exciting. That's the reason why just within 6 months, we are well received by a lot of hospitals and also customers. So yes, there are competitors in mainland China. We estimated that we are able to kind of obtain something like 10% of the market size.
Just on that point,
Yes.
like in the 6 months, how many tests have you delivered?
Well, in 6 months, we have already delivered a few thousand. My CEO is not here, but if I remember, about 4,000 tests within 6 months, because it takes time to get into the hospital, and they're pretty well received.
Great.
I think
Thank
the
you very
game
much. I
changer-
think we're going to have to wrap up there, actually.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite up to the stage our next startup team, Hong Kong Decoman, the O2O one-stop renovation ecosystem.
Testing. So this is Benny from HK Decoman. Okay. So let's wait for the PowerPoint. Oh, good. So HK Decoman is O2O one-stop renovation ecosystem, which aims at simplifying renovation process. As you may know that renovation is one of the important decisions everyone have to make at least once in their life, and it ensures happiness in their life. So our management team is made up of experts in different areas. For example, I'm a serial entrepreneur, which is good at global expansion and growth hacking. And we also got talents in other special areas, such as TV design, UX and UI, and e-commerce as well. So the obvious pain point we see in the renovation industry is that the mismatch between the demand side and the supply side. And it creates a lot of huge wastage due to this. So our role here is provide an ecosystem for the right party to meet with each others. We create value with a lower cost. So to illustrate, we are earning by creating extra value instead of taking money from our competitors' pocket. And this core value establishes the culture of our company. So here's an overview of our ecosystem. Our ecosystem is made up of a core traffic hub together with 3 business units. We monetize our traffic by our 3 business units, including smart matching, O2O shopping platform, and academy by satisfying different customer lists. We help customers before, during, and after the renovation process by reducing wastage. So here are the dashboard of our achievement. And all these numbers add together make us the market leader of Hong Kong in the online renovation industry. To me, the definition of good technology depends on how many people benefit from that instead of how high-tech the technology is. Our system help a lot of customers to solve their problem. Maybe they even don't know where the technology is. And I think that's what we are doing right now. And thanks for the support. Thank everyone for the support. So you can see that we are supported by a lot of awards, a brand, or even some governmental bodies. We may not be the best, but we have been trying our best to use our way to contribute to the society, to make the society better. And we are HK Decoman, the #1 renovation online ecosystem in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you very much. Judges?
Hi, can you elaborate, because I'm still not getting, like, why are you saving waste and how are you not getting disintermediated after you match people?
So I can come to my appendix. So for example, for the smart matching is one of our core value. We help to match the customer demand to the most suitable renovation company by our inbuilt algorithm. And I can show how our algorithm works. To illustrate, we translated complicated and abstract custom need into a set of parameters in order to match with our vendors. And each of our vendors got like 100 of tags for their attributes. And then we'll use our algorithm in between to match both sides together. So the customer can find the most suitable company for their renovation project. And for the vendors, they can find the most suitable project for them to perform, to serve. So their cost can be lower. Yeah. And we have finished more than a few thousand projects in Hong Kong in past few years, and the satisfaction rate is very, very high.
So you're a matching program,
Yeah.
and you take a cut from the project. Is that the monetization model?
Yeah. That's how we charge our vendor side. We charge like 7 to 10% for each completed project.
Just by matching them, you take a 7 to 10% cut.
Yeah. The cost is very, very low, because you can think that if the vendor need to get a project themselves, they may need to open a shop in the street. They may need to spend a lot in the advertising. So when we charge them, when we said that, we need to charge them for 7 to 10%, they are very happy. And because we help them a lot in communicating with the customer. And besides, there are a lot of detail works we help them to do. But it's hard to explain during this short presentation.
Can you just walk us through then from your take rate all the way down to your customer acquisition costs, other expenses, to sort of how you're going to reach the profitability line?
Our profit?
Your unit economics all the way down. So you're going to make money, right? You said 7 to 10% per. Okay, so how much do you guys pay to be able to acquire each one of the customers? And
there's
what are the
one
other
of
expenses down that you need to pay per transaction that you do?
I can explain to you. This go back to our ecosystem. More than 50% of our customer, come from organic traffic. We don't pay for the customer. And our organic traffic, because of our traffic hub, we offer a lot of information, including videos, articles, free floor plan download, and a lot of revenue case. And it helps us to generate a lot of free traffic. Yeah. So the advertising dollar we spend is very, very low with our scale of revenue. It's like less than 200,000 Hong Kong dollar per month. Yeah, but our revenue size is more than 5 million per month.
Your free courses or your content.
Yeah.
That has content production costs associated.
Yeah.
Do you guys get revenue off of that?
Huh?
Do you guys make money off of that?
No.
Or is it just used to attract customers?
Yeah. We just use them. But actually, because as you can see, we have an O2O shopping model. That means we have a lot of cooperation with those material brands. And sometimes they will pay us to make those contents. Yeah, and our production cost is very, very low. Yeah, because we don't have make fancy video with very strong production. Because what we are selling is knowledge. Yeah.
So what's your repeat customer rate? Like, for example, if a customer uses you guys to find a specific vendor or a contractor to work with them, how often do they come back to you to use it again and not disintermediate?
Because according to statistics, they will join, each customer will have another project after 10 years. But they have referred a lot of friends. Referral contribute like 10% of our monthly revenue. Yeah. So it's hard to get the money from the same person, but they refer a lot. And we can earn from them by other business unit, because you can see we have the shopping platform and the academy side.
Can you just sort of summarize how you see the total market size, and presumably it's Hong Kong, and what sort of share of market you would expect to capture, and what
actually the total market size is very, very big, as is linked to the property market. As you may know, the Hong Kong property market is very, very strong. And even those new flat, people like to break everything and renovate it again. That's quite special in Hong Kong. So we see that according to the government statistic, the monthly market size is around 14 billion in Hong Kong.
And what share of that would you expect to
and the
take
total
over the
online renovation market capture around 5% right now of the total renovation market. The online part capture 5%. And we are the market leader of the online market. I guess we are around 1 to 2% right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you would remain a Hong Kong-based business, or do you have aspirations to expand beyond?
Actually, we planned and raised a round of money in the first quarter of 2020 in expanding our business to Singapore and Taiwan. And the term sheet is on the table. But after the Chinese New Year, the pandemic broke out and we stopped everything. I guess the whole Cyberport know about this story. And that's the problem we are facing now. But we don't want to wait anymore, and we will start our expansion plan right now. Yeah, and it's moving.
One of the difficult things in O2O is to ensure that you get paid.
Yeah.
By the contractor or by the client. How do you guys ensure that, unless you guys are going to watch the renovation? Because it's a pretty big dollar amount.
No, actually we don't watch. We just match them together, and we have procedure. We have the protocol for them, both sides to follow. We have the whole procedure. Each side will follow our procedure in order to make a successful project. And one of the questions we always be asked that, will the contractor skip us, bypass us, and direct contact the client? Actually, it won't be happen, because the contractor won't take a high risk for losing a continuous source of income by just earning from one project. And my cut is just 7 to 10%, which is a very low cost from them. So they won't take the risk. Everyone low to run a business won't take this risk, because it's a continuous source of income. Yeah.
I just want to say that I hate your slide with the 3 points: AI, blockchain, and what was it? What was the third one? But you just threw 3 buzzwords up there, and I have no idea how your team is going to do anything in those 3 areas. And
Actually, we are just applying those technology in our ecosystem. For example, we have some AI elements in our smart matching algorithm. For the blockchain side, we could invest a new system like smart contract together with another tech company. We just do a smart contract to record all the change, all the amendments of the renovation project on the blockchain smart contract. Yeah.
So I guess just following along that.
Yeah.
Then, I just feel like the other challenge with O2O is actually ensuring a good experience at the other end, right? Especially if you're working with partner vendors. We've invested in this space in China. I've used similar services. At the end of the day, I mean, the contractors that come in, you have no control over, right? And so the contractors that end up in your house, whatever they do, they represent your company, because the consumer feels like they booked it through your platform. But these contractors, how do you guys then go about vetting the contractors' services? How do you go about doing quality control?
Yeah. At the moment, we focus much on the pre-screening of letting the contractor to join in our network. And in the middle, we receive comment from the customer in order to filter out those with poor quality. And according to that, we have won the business for 5 years. The failure rate is around, or the unhappy rate is around 1% of our whole project. Yeah, because we have a lot of ways. Because most of the problem happens in a renovation project is communication. Because there are much miscommunication between the contractor and the clients. And actually, we don't monitor the process. We don't monitor the project. We help them in their communication to solve the problem. Yeah, we help a lot in the communication.
Judges, we have less than 2 minutes left, so time for one more question.
Can you just clarify, what is the typical size of a project that you do? What dollar amount are we talking about?
Our average project size from the start till today is around 300,000 per project. Yeah, 300,000 per project, because we are servicing the mass market.
So if you go to Satin, there's an IKEA in there with the whole building in there. You walk in there, there's a designer, you can buy all the stores, everything in there, not just the IKEA, but all the other brands in there. That is your major competitor, right? So how do you...
Actually not really. Because the shopping mall you mentioned, I guess, is Home Square. Yeah, Home Square is more on furniture. Yeah, it's more on furniture. It's more on the interior design part. It's more the high-end part. Yeah, that's not the major market that we are focused on. The major markets we focus on is under 1 million, the mass. Yeah.
How long have you guys been around?
We start in late 2015.
Okay, so your first batch of vendors that use you guys, the contractors or vendors that use you guys, how many of them are still working with you today?
More than 50%. Yeah. Because they are happy in earning a lot of money. That's still business. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. I think we're going to wrap that up right here. Thank you. And hopefully, as you can tell, this is kind of the reason why we have our VC judges here, to ask the hard questions so that we don't have to. But so we will, I'd like to invite up to the stage the next startup, Lifespans, making the technologies that make bone fracture repair safer for elderly patients.
Hello, everyone. I'm Erica, the Chief Scientific Officer of Lifespans, and our mission is to create world-leading orthopedic implants that improve the quality of life for elderly patients. So our company was founded by MIT engineers, trauma surgeons from Hong Kong U and Queen Mary Hospital, and veterans from the orthopedic industry. So as we get older, many of us may develop osteoporosis, where our bones become very weak and fragile. And an accident such as a simple fall can result in a broken bone. And today's implants still fail at high rates for these elderly patients because the implants can migrate through the bone and also break out of the bone, which is very painful and risky for these patients. So we are developing different technologies to address this problem, one of which is our soft tip technology, which acts as a cushion between the rigid implant and the soft bone. And this helps to absorb some of the forces, distribute the stress, and cushion the bone against the implant. And we're also developing what we call our tensegrity technology in our shoulder implant. And this allows the surgeon to create a web of sutures easily to hold the multi-fragment bone components together while it heals. And it also allows them to readjust the tension in the sutures. And both of these are actually very difficult with current existing technologies. So during implant development, we found that the whole cycle from design to prototyping to testing is quite long. And so actually we invented the first accurate way to simulate the cracking and crushing of bone. And this has allowed to do virtual implant testing. And we have already launched this at some conferences in the US, and 4 of the top orthopedic companies are working with us to do virtual implant testing. So these are some of the services we offer, and such as you can upload your implant and run some of the standard tests, mechanical tests needed for like regulatory submission. So we have several products in our portfolio, some of which are targeting for FDA 510(k) submission by the end of this year. And we also have patents covering our IP, and the total addressable market we leave with our implant technologies and the virtual testing is $27 billion. So,
thank you, Erica. I think we can move on to the Q&A now as well.
Okay, thank you.
Judges?
Well, full disclosure, I'm semi-bionic, so this is very interesting to me. So just from a model point of view and from a research and development point of view, you said you're working with a number of orthopedic companies.
Mhm.
Can you describe a little bit more who they are, if you're able to disclose? If not, they're obvious suspects if they're the large ones.
Yeah, it's the obvious suspect.
Right.
Yeah.
And and what do you mean you're working together with them? To what end? Are these co-development arrangements? Are these co-licensing arrangements? Are these R&D partnerships? Are they full stream all the way to commercialization?
Yeah.
How are you planning to work this out?
Sure. So most of them are right now R&D projects where they're testing out how accurate our simulation is. So they're giving us some implant designs and some of their physical test data and running comparisons to our simulation results.
And without getting too detailed, why is your bone simulation engine so powerful? How do you take into account all of the individual attributes from density to a bone configuration to anatomy to the whole thing?
Yeah. So right now we are taking CT scans of real bone and also a bone substitute material. It's a standardized material which is commonly used for testing implants because bone is, there's a lot of variation. So doing head-to-head testing, you often use this, it's called sawbones material.
Yeah. But sorry, can I just push this a little bit?
Okay.
CT scanning for joint replacement is standard. So what is beyond standard here for planning purposes?
Yeah. So we are taking that to create a particle-based model of the bone. So right now, a lot of simulation is just using FEA, and you can't go past like the initial kind of showing the initial stress or initial strain. So if you wanted to crush the bone or break the bone or see the implant move through the bone, you can't really do that with FEA. And our simulation, we actually have a video, I don't know if it'll play, but we can see so you can see actually the bone past the initial stress and strain. So you can actually really like model how an implant might move in bone or how bone might get crushed or compacted by an implant.
Can you talk about the monetization model? Is it like a one-off? You buy the software and then you stay with it, or like how are you charging for this?
So for the simulation, do we have this? So we are actually trying to make a standardized web interface where you would upload the different implant designs that you want to test, and then based on different kind of standardized tests that are common in our industry and are used very frequently for regulatory submissions and which we have validated internally, you can pick which tests you want. And so it's kind of like just as you would take your physical implants and send them to the testing lab, this you can, because the price should be cheaper than the testing lab, you're able to actually test more of your designs ahead of time before maybe doing some physical tests to get some insight.
But just following that question, is it a per use? Is it a license? Is it a service bureau? I don't understand how it works.
Right now, it's we haven't licensed it out yet. Right now, our team is the one who is running the simulation. So we work with the customer to.
And you charge a flat fee, or how does it work?
Yeah, we either by test, or if it's a bigger project which requires more customization, then it could be like project-based fees. But for standard test, we just have a set price list, like a testing lab.
Sorry, you said you're cheaper. So someone ships you a product and you go test it and you send the results. Is that how, and why are you cheaper than the existing service providers?
This is for this implant simulator, it's virtual, so they don't send us any actual implants. But just because, the whole making a prototype or making the actual implant for testing, that costs a lot. And also the test from the testing lab also costs a lot. But since this is virtual and we have, if the test is a standardized test where we have already validated and we can just plug in different implant models, then we have some cost savings there.
Could you go back to that slide that had your entire suite of products and portfolios, and maybe just tell us a little bit in terms of how you think the business will grow in the future? Because it seems like Alfonso, which is the simulation, is just a real small piece.
Yeah, so actually we started off as focusing on devices, and this was actually our CEO's PhD project while we were at Hong Kong U, and we had started our company together. But it actually fit in quite well because as we were going through development, we saw that there was really a need for this, and I think a lot of the large companies also see the need. So we have our three different, one is the tip, one is this suturing technology, and one is a special thread design, which also helps to redistribute the stress in the bone. So we can actually apply these different technologies to different implants, but we're first focusing on hip and shoulder right now.
So I guess on that, I mean, obviously we're spending a lot of time on the software. So I do want to kind of shift and hear a little bit more about, your main business. Like what is, I guess, I mean, you guys are pretty close to, getting clearance for the hip screw at least.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, I mean, like, what is your go-to-market strategy? Like you're doing all this in the U.S. Are you guys going to be distributing in the U.S. first? Like, do you guys have a roadmap or like a forecast for the next, like, I don't know, 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so we are focusing on US 510K just because recent changes in EU and with CE requiring more clinical data. So we are focusing on the 510K pathway and then using that to leverage other markets like around Southeast Asia, and then also start to collect some clinical data for CE. So yeah, our hip screw, the soft tip, is in the final stages of the testing needed for regulatory. Because it does have the polymer component, there's some extra testing required. So we're just finishing that up and then put everything together for submission by the end of the year. And the shoulder nail is also we're finalizing some of the instrument design because the suturing is through, like the sleeve, so it's minimally invasive, and it's just the instruments are a big part of also what surgeons like to use your device. So we're really focusing on making the whole procedure streamlined and easy to use. And so we're in the stage of making the implants with the manufacturer and sending them for testing for real testing that's needed for the 510K submission at the end of the year as well.
Sorry, can you clarify how your product's different from what's available in the market today? And just on that point, because we're focused on the software company because you're selling stuff right now, but are you 5 years from now, are you a product company or are you like a simulation company? How should we see you? So 2 questions in there.
Yeah. So the first question, how we're differentiated. So actually our soft tip component, we haven't seen anything with the soft tip component on the market. And even there's no direct predicate device. But we are still able to stay in the 510K pathway because the additional risk is not so much higher. So when we do show it to surgeons, they see right away how it could help with reducing implant migration. And then for the shoulder nail, the suturing technology. So this system of being able to pull tension on the suture, lock the suture, or lock the tension and then readjust it during the surgery is also quite unique, because now the surgeons just use a screw hole, just a hole like in a screw, and manually thread it and then tie the knot. So during the surgery, some fragments may move around and you lose tension in the sutures. So you would have to basically cut the suture out and redo it and then hand tie the knots again. So it's not very convenient. So we wanted to make making it be able to be readjustable during the surgery was a big thing that we focused on.
Judges, we have about 1 minute left, so time for a very short question.
Well, I'll make it short. Isn't your product strategy slightly in conflict with your service strategy?
In terms of, because we're supplying implants and then we're also testing implants for, I wouldn't say that they're in conflict. We haven't got any feedback from the orthopedic companies that we work with that, they're hesitant to work with us because of that. I think maybe because we're still a startup, they don't see us as a threat, but I would say that we haven't got any feedback like that at all.
Probably something you will have to address down the road and something to think about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. A hand for Lifespans. Now I'd like to invite our next startup. It would be OneDegree, building the operating system of the insurance industry.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, ATEC, for the opportunity, and great to see everyone, all the entrepreneurs and the VCs here. Oh, all right. Okay. So OneDegree is building the operating system of the insurance industry, and here there are 3 key pillars to make this happen. First, on day one, we want to be licensed as an insurer, virtual insurer, and we have got one of the 4 virtual insurance licenses in Hong Kong. We also just acquired a national broker license in China as well. Second key pillar is the technology piece. So we are building a core system SaaS, and this is really for anyone, global insurers, doesn't need to be licensed. And what we really bring on the table here is that we bring down the cost, the recurring cost, by 41% for the insurers. Okay. The 3 key pillar is the killer application. We have 2 killer applications right now. One is to provide cybersecurity insurance for the virtual asset exchanges, like the crypto guys, and also the STO market as well. The second key pillar is to break into the mass affluent segment, starting with pet insurance, and then going into the other products like fire, e-commerce, medical, etc. as well. So right now, if you look at the landscape in the market, most of the insurtech companies are solely focusing on distribution for good reason, commission, right? But when we look at the pain points as a consumers and also as an insurer, the key pain points is actually in the product development that is extremely slow and irrelevant, and also the claim process, also very lengthy. And for us, we are really making it an end-to-end type of system to address the problem. Some case in point here. So we have already commercialized with a number of different insurance companies, like Signal, starting from 1 market to 2nd to 3rd market, and also first insurance in a particular market, and of course, OneDegree as a virtual insurer as well. To quantify the impacts that we have made in the market, now, typically for the insurance company to launch or to iterate a product, it takes them 6 to 9 months. For us, it takes us less than 10 days. And this really enables a really fast product iteration. Claims, I just mentioned that. Typically, it takes them 2 to 4 weeks. Last year, because of work from home, but the receipts are flying into the offices, it takes them 2 months. It takes us 90% of the claims are done within 2 days. Our team now got 170 people. And one thing I do want to note here is that out of 170 people, half of the people have put money into the company. Okay. And so this is a real skin in the game, and very glad to share that, after the recent run, more than 10 of the team members actually hold shares that are worth more than $1 million. We target the mass affluent segments. And right now, with the type of unit economics, we really focus on it. The CAC that we have is 1/10 versus other insurers of the same product.
Thank you, Alvin. I think let's move on to Q&A. I think you can
okay.
Sure. Why don't you walk through the unit economics?
Okay, absolutely. So our unit economics, our LTV is 28 times over CAC. And then for the SaaS business, we realize 41% cost savings for the insurers, and for us, we make 80% gross margin. Okay, these are the unit economics.
Sorry, can you go into why? Because frankly, like we have looked at a lot of these, virtual banks, insurance, bank insurance, that cost just sounds really too attractive, too good to be true. So if you could explain what that is. And second question, sorry, I'm like hogging it. Why do you choose the sectors that are hardest to make money? Like you would argue like pet, property casualty is the worst economics in the marketplace. So why do you choose?
Okay, so first of all, I think I want to address why our CAC is so much lower than other people first. Now on the claims, you can see the drastic difference, right? So right now, in the past several months, half of our business are organic, basically coming from word of mouth. And also coming from the user get user. And to give you a sense of that, user get user, our cost is 200 Hong Kong dollar per customer, versus other insurers right now per successful lead generation is 6,000 Hong Kong dollar. Okay, so this is the drastic difference when you have a really good product. I think that's number one. Number two, when I talk about the product iteration, frankly, when we first have our first version coming out to the market, it doesn't work. And to give you a sense of that, for pet insurance as an example, when the leads come in, 50% come from dogs, 50% come from pets, but when it comes to successful conversion, 95% of that come from dogs, 5% come from cats, which means the cat market, despite the insurers have been doing this for more than 10 years, have not successfully cracked in the market. But through the really fast product iteration to achieve the product market fit, we crack it. Now it's 50-50, which means the CAC is just down 50% just like that, and so on. So it's really through the product iteration. So because of a really good CAC, we achieve the LTV versus CAC is really, really good.
Hi, Evan. So full disclosure, OneDegree is a portfolio company. But I just wanted to make a comment that you really need to PDF your PowerPoint because a lot of your fonts are messed up.
Oh, sorry.
That's it. Can you maybe talk about competition here? You're in the brokerage business, but there's a lot of insurance companies that are going direct to consumer via the internet. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how you guys stack up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so in fact, yesterday, one of the key insurers, they come talk to us, and the issue about that is all about conversion rates, all about CAC conversion rate, right? So right now we have more than 100,000 customer paid users, but from a marketing cost point of view, we are probably second lowest. Okay, I think that's one. Our conversion rate is 4.something%. The other traditional insurers, when they sell online, the conversion rate is 0.01%. Okay. So I think the issue about that is really about, it's not about digital lipstick. You just put a product online and that's it. It's about the digital journey. It's about really how to make a product that the customers really love. And a lot of it actually comes from technology.
Have you guys been able to retain all of your insurers on your platform? And how's cross-selling and repeats?
Right. Well, let me make a clarification. So we are not a broker. So we actually got one of the 4 virtual insurance licenses in Hong Kong. It's like a virtual bank that you can do underwriting, you can directly provide products. I think that's number 1 that I want to clarify on that piece. Number 2, great question. So right now we have 92% the annual recurring customer. Okay, so people keep repeating purchase. And by the way, out of the 92% people who keep purchasing, more than half of them did not make claims. Okay, so they really love the services. Okay, I think that's number 2. Number 3 is that in the first year, we only have one product, that is pet insurance. The second year, we really have products every quarter. Okay, and then starting from 4th quarter, we're going into mass market product like critical illness, human medical, etc., etc. So from a repeat purchase repeat purchase, I think we are clearly there. From a cross-selling, I think it's still a little bit early to tell.
Yeah, I'm just curious, when you think about analogs to your business and who you admire, who are the top 3 names? Is one of them like Lemonade?
I think Lemonade, I think what we are thinking about is probably closer. We are both focusing on mass affluent. By the way, I also want to explain a little bit about the mass affluent concept. Okay, I think most of the insurtech companies globally, whether it's Waterdrop, Zhong'an, etc., most of them are focusing on the grassroots segment. Okay, the so-called financial inclusion. Okay, but our thinking is a little bit different. Our thinking is that, and when we do the user research, in fact, the college graduates, they don't want to be called by agents and brokers. They want to call these customer services when they want to. It's kind of like Genius Bar of the Apple Store and so on, right? But the grassroots segment, on the other hand, they actually need to rely on agents and brokers to explain the terms to them. Okay, so I think for us, for Lemonade, we really focus on the mass affluent segment and serve them extremely well. And this is really, so I think Lemonade is definitely one example to that. From a customer service point of view, I think Apple Genius Bar is really what we are looking up to. And then from a business model point of view, is Google in the entire Google, in the entire kind of the operating system in this insurance industry.
And are there natural acquirers of your business at this stage?
Well, sometimes I like to flip the question. What about we go and acquire a big guy? But anyway, so there are indeed, well, every year I can tell you.
Did Chibo tell you to answer questions like that?
No. Yeah, well, there are a number of insurers that come to us from time to time. Okay, but I don't think that's the right time to maximize the impacts of the value of the technology.
You're just curious, why did you get a license, right? Because a lot of people try to avoid getting regulated, and why do that? Why not just be an intermediary?
That's a really, really, really great question. Thanks so much for bringing that up. I think number one, well, we actually said that we want to be regulated on day one. And there are 2 key reasons for that. The first reason is that we see that at this point of time of the fintech industry, it does get to a point that I think being regulated, being licensed is extremely important. Okay, I think that's number 1. Number 2, even more importantly, is that as a fully licensed insurer, you have the liberty to iterate your product as much as you like. When you are a broker and so on, or an intermediary, just because the insurance industry works so slow, it at times takes you 6-9 months to convince the insurers to iterate and change the product. But for us, we can do 5 product iteration within a year time, and this is the type of speed that none of the existing guys, the incumbents, are able to follow.
You can spend some time talking about the market opportunity,
yeah,
and which target markets you're going in.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are targeting a $217 billion opportunity. In fact, I think on the GI side is the Hong Kong and GBA as a start, including Insurance Connect. We also have a team working on the life insurance. It might take a little bit more time. Okay, and then on the B2B front, so right now, well, by the way, it's not only B2B in Asia. I mean, selling the insurance technology to Asian insurers, but also there's some European insurers who come in the process right now. The cyber one, also, we are now, after the B1 round that we recently announced, and thanks for the support. So we have actually most of the large crypto guys come in the process and want to work with us on the cybersecurity insurance and also cybersecurity protection front.
We have about 2 minutes left, so maybe time for one last question. Or not. I think that's it. I think that's a wrap. Thank you. Thank you very much, Alvin.
Thank you.
And for everyone who's paying close attention and wondered what the value-added VCs were, thank you, Chibo, for giving kind of a live example of live mentoring. So that was very nice. So for our next startup, I'd like to welcome PickUpp, the tech platform to help e-commerce deliver with flexibility and transparency.
Hi everyone, I'm Crystal, CEO founder of PickUpp. A pleasure to be here today. In the post-COVID world, e-commerce has soared over 80% increment in value, yielding 5x peak time volumes during mega sales. A lot of online deliveries, they're now marketing 10-minute groceries or 10-minute food. But here's a catch. Consumers want things fast, but they also want things to be delivered free. Existing startups use gig workforce, point-to-point matching, and then they also use a lot of rider incentives to tackle time compression. But it's expensive. It's also not sustainable. They're not answering the question. They want fast, they want reliable, but they also want sustainable and cost-effective deliveries. Predictive analytics, smart routing, real-time cost optimization is still in its nascent stage. That's why merchants turn to PickUpp as a reliable partner to relieve the pain by way of technology. And here's how we do it. First, proprietary geocoding system identifying types of address faster and high accuracy than Google Maps. Then, our smart sorting logic helping dark stores to sort by last mile distance, capacity, opening hours, and even temperature. Then, our proprietary batching and clustering model boosting efficiency for every ride. We also run predictive pricing models trying to extract cost savings so that we can match the best agent at the lowest marginal cost. Lastly, GPS tracking, real-time feedback so that we can be very timely. We work with neighborhood F&Bs, online shops, and even cross-border 3PL e-commerce. So we handle hyperlocal, intercity, nationwide, and even cross-border deliveries. Instead of running as a heavy model, we believe by connecting all these fragmented resources, revamping them, digitizing, optimizing them, and we can offer them as a network, shared network. So all these businesses can debottleneck peak sales period, yielding over 30% logistics cost savings, 5x peak time capacity. We're tackling a growing market. The 3PL logistics plus perishable O2O in ASEAN is 72 billion and growing. We started in Hong Kong in 2017, expanded to Singapore and Malaysia in 2018, started Taiwan in 2020. We're targeting 10 more cities in the coming 5 years. So we're now servicing 20,000 brands, 100,000 delivery agents. This is a condensed list of clients who like us and using us on a daily basis. We're a mixed group of bold entrepreneurs with mixed background from marketplace logistics, from investment banking, marketplace startups, and also consulting. We're also backed by reputable, incredible shareholders. Here's just a list of them. So our vision here is to redefine logistics by taking a tech and data-driven approach. We take away the uncertainty of managing logistics so that you can focus on growing the business. Thank you.
Thank you. Judges?
Can I just quickly, can you talk about monetization model? How are you charging? Are you B2B software or like SaaS? How do we see you?
Yeah, So our strategy here is to work with enterprises and SMEs. We generally will enter into a contract because what we are telling people is that we want to provide you a reliable service. So you can imagine largest customers, they can be freight forwarding companies, they can even be a DHL when we're working with them. It can also be fashion brands. So we'll have long-term contracts with them. We lock in the rates. And in the meantime, we try to extract margins and values while we optimize and we use all these fragmented resources to help them realize cost savings. So that's how we monetize. And you can think of us as not only a solution provider, because we do we do consult them along the way as well, but we're also offering this shared network as a service.
Sorry, are you a 3PL or you're not a 3PL?
We can be a 3PL, but most of the time we're more than a 3PL, because if you look at, I'll give you two examples. So one example is how we work with people already in logistics sector. We work with a lot of freight forwarders and we help them because they have hardware, but they may not employ predictive analytics on a daily basis. So they will use line haul, they use the freight forwarding service, while first mile and last mile, they will use PickUpp as a partner because we help them debottleneck the peak sales period. For a fashion brand, instead of owning the vans and managing ad hoc deliveries like low inventory rebalancing or trying to do like a store-to-door kind of delivery model, now they can just use PickUpp. We will enter into a contract with them to tell them that you can be very ad hoc. You can give me 10 orders today, 100 orders tomorrow. Just leave it to us. We will handle all the dispatching, whether you want it same day or next day, and we will commit to a price where you understand that it will be cheaper than owning a van. So in that case, we are a 3PL, but we are smarter than just any logistics companies.
Can you go back to that slide that has that sort of the end-to-end service that you're providing? I'm just curious, where do you guys spend most of your time? Well, there's a lot of...
Sorry. Here?
Yes, this one. Where do you guys spend most of your time? Where's most of your value add, most of your revenues?
Yeah, so I would say right now, the hyperlocal neighborhood deliveries, it's only maybe about 10% of what we are handling. Most of the deliveries that's happening now is nationwide, like in Malaysia, in Singapore, even like in Hong Kong, we will cover the islands as well. But those deliveries are usually not as immediate. So you're talking about, we're taking Amazon Japan orders coming into Hong Kong. They're trying to keep to a certain SLA. How can we keep to same day we deliver 60% of the volume and then the rest 40% in the next day? So these will be a mix of using partner sorting centers, partner fulfillment centers. There will be a freight forwarding partner working with us while we have all these metro dark stores and freelance agents handling those deliveries. That's the bulk of what we're handling. And then some of these freight forwarding e-commerce, we also do first mile collection, send them to the airport so that they can fly off with a partner. But that's a small portion.
So the only portion that you control is first mile and last mile. Everything in between is all.
That's correct, because we are asset light. We believe that there are enough planes, there are enough warehouses, there are enough infrastructure already existing in these cities that we can work with, we can revamp, and we can optimize for them.
So how have the recent changes in terms of shipping costs, et cetera, impacted you guys, and how are your margins looking?
Yeah, so the good thing here is because I understand, right now it's a very tight, all these shipping costs is going very, very high. And I think it's affecting across all the industries. But to us, because this freight forwarding part, we are almost like a cost pass-through. Yes, we do understand that it's going up, but what we are good at really optimizing is the first and last mile. Because the higher the density, the more idle warehouse or the more sorting facilities that we can crowdsource within like a region, then the larger this opportunity for us to optimize and realize cost savings.
Can you talk about your technology platform?
Yeah.
In particular, who leads the continuing development on your team, What's the background of this person, and how much investment have you made so far, and what sort of heavy investment is required going forward?
Yep. So the very first version of the optimizing model was designed by me. I was a software engineer by training, but now it's my CPO who also he was from Accenture, so he's been with me for the longest time since the start of the company. We keep iterating because just now when I walk through the geocoding, breaking up the legs of the supply chain, this is an iterative process, and no one can get it done in day one. So right now, we keep refining this technology as we work with more and more enterprise clients as well. We learn along the way. We've raised today, we raised today more than $20 million from various investors. Some of them are actually strategic investors where they not only give us money, but they also ask us to help them revamp and digitize the entire supply chain as well.
And so on that note, how do you express delivery, no pun intended, around in respect of your SLAs, and what sort of success rates are you showing? How are you tracking SLA data? What does it look like today, and what do you aspire it to look like? Where's the gap?
Yeah, great question. So right now, we keep to a very strict on-time rate. Like the on-time rate to us is always more than 95%. Like we're striving for, we know that, 100% perfect deliveries doesn't exist in this world, but we keep striving for that. And what we are trying to break through and offer our customer is that how can we keep shortening next day deliveries to same day, or same day deliveries to half a day, and then we can keep the costs low. I think this is what we are really trying to do for a lot of customers. And I'll give you a use case. Some of these cross-border freight forwarders using us, say for example in Malaysia, we work with a 3PL Aramex, and sometimes you may wonder why would even Aramex work with us? Because there's custom clearing, and because with custom clearing, they will miss SLAs because delays of a lot of things, right? So that means originally they want a next day service, but when things happen, they need a same day service, or sometimes they even need 6-hour service. So it is all about whether we can accommodate and be flexible enough to give them that kind of SLA they want. So I think that's what we are trying to achieve by helping others keep to the SLA as well.
Yeah, but how are you doing on that score?
So once we enter into a contract, we commit to every single order, like with reliability. So
and how are you doing on that score?
On average, 97%.
That's good.
And is your growth contract by contract? Because we have seen some of these companies before where that profile of growth it's good, but it's slow. Mm-hmm. So how are you growing?
Yeah, so we do serve a mix, like a mix of a very different client profiles. Like I think we have a slide where we do serve certain clients. Like these on top, they are contract by contract. But as you go down the list, you will see that a lot of them, they're more ad hoc. So they just come naturally because they cannot predict the orders. So a lot of them are actually on monthly plans. So, I just know that for this month, I have some delivery needs. So it's a pretty automated process. Like we can do digital conversion. We can quickly onboard them, like with just videos, and allow them to place order themselves, almost like a self-serve SFU. And people on Shopify or WooCommerce, they have a very good way to just access the plugin and then be able to start delivering. So I think with a good mix of contracts, but also these SME clients, that will help us fuel the growth.
Full disclosure, portfolio company. No, I think that was a good presentation. I think because logistics sector is such a segmented and complicated sector. Could you try to could you let us know who you view as competitors, like how you compare to some other logistics players that most of us would probably know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So logistics is very competitive, and no question. But I think PickUpp's existence here, we're not here to say we take out like other players, because there are asset heavy players out there and they exist for a reason because we're moving physical parcels. So what PickUpp is trying to do here is to work with a lot of these logistics players. So if you imagine maybe like an integrated player is like the iPhone environment, we are almost like an open source Android. We work with everyone. As long as you have additional capacity, give it to me. I can help you optimize it. So, so we do, in a sense, compete with certain players, because if everything is done within the same system without outsourcing, obviously, you know, there will be some sort of competition. But we're also seeing more and more cases that larger logistics companies are starting to work with startups like us, because they understand that the time compression issue is very imminent. So they're really looking for tech to solve it.
Thank you. We've got 1 minute remaining, so a very short question.
Can you talk a little bit about cash flows and margins, etc.?
Yeah. So the ASPs on top are definitely much lower because these are the bulk volumes that come with implied efficiency. So that's why we have a mix. We work with these clients for abundance, like efficiency. So like lower margins, maybe in the teens. But as we go down this list, all these brands and all these players where they cannot predict the order, then we can extract up to 50-60% gross margins with our predictive pricing models, as proven.
Thank you very much, Crystal.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And so now, in keeping with, I guess, the times, we're going to transition to our last two pitches, which will be done online. They'll be pitching from their respective locations. So this team is coming from Singapore. This is Gigacover, the future of independent worker incentives and benefits.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me and see me? Okay, great. So I'm hearing a lot of feedback because as I speak, the speakers are also broadcasting. But I'll go ahead anyway. Okay, good morning. I'm Emerson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Gigacover. Thanks for having me here today. So Gigacover was founded in 2017 to build the future of independent workforce incentives and benefits. Now, independent workers come from many occupations, from blue collar to white collar. So this is anything from mobility to services, contract workers, sales agents, and also creatives. Many more millennials are choosing to go independent versus working for big companies. Now, this makes up a large portion of Southeast Asia, 20 to 25% of the population. But they actually share the same pain points. They have lack of access to group protection, and they also have cash flow problems. So Gigacover is meeting these needs by offering flexible insurance and early access to earnings. And we do this by offering in two ways. There's a subscription into the Gigacover membership program. And this gets you coverage as well as outpatient healthcare access. And then we also have add-ons where users can purchase on their own or for their spouses and dependents. So that's like earning advances which you can apply for, or supplementary insurance that might be occupation specific. Now, what's different about our products is that they are all more affordable and flexible than what you can find in retail. So we help businesses drive performance and compliance, and we work with a range of businesses from tech platforms like Gojek, Lalamove, Homage, but also traditional businesses like sales agencies, outsourcing firms, logistics. You know, most businesses who use independent workers tier their workers on loyalty, work done, job performance. So we match our offerings with their worker tiers. So the highest tiers get more, the lower tiers get less. Businesses use us to reduce their churn, improve productivity, particularly with non-cash incentives. And in return, I get access to many workers, users, with lower CAC. All right, so in the long run, looking ahead, we want to grow into the region's incentives and benefits system. And we have plans to build up both the financial products, right? We're focused now on anything associated with earnings and income, but we also want to get into inpatient health, investments, credit cards. We may not be doing this on our own, but more on a partnership model. But building this ecosystem of products out is important to us. And the second part is we also want to get users involved in formal systems, formal credit, formal social safety nets. Right, so I believe we have the right team to execute on this. I spent some time in Silicon Valley. With Palantir and Pivotal.
Hi, Emerson.
Sorry?
We can move on to the judges Q&A now.
Okay, sure.
Your time's up for the pitch. Yeah.
Hi, Anderson.
Hi, sorry, I actually can't see you, so I'm just going to hear your voice and just speak. Sorry, can you say that again?
Can you tell us about your team? Speak to the slide that's up, please.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yes. So I was going to say that, I had spent some time in Silicon Valley. So I had some startup experience. And my core team, we're divided into countries, and I have country managers in each country, Singapore, Indonesia, and Philippines. And they all come from similar startup backgrounds with a good amount of hustle and good amount of drive. Now, at the advisor level, we have the CEO of Aon Asia on our board, and also the fintech partner of Ernst & Young. So we've got the insurance and finance sort of subject matter expertise locked down. So I believe we have the good team here to execute on the two core parts of our product now, which is insurance and financing.
Can you explain how, because you have some pretty formidable competitors, right? Grab, Gojek, everybody has their own financial platform where they're selling insurance to their drivers. Why do they come to you? How do you price your product more competitively than them with such a big entrenched customer base?
Yeah, good question. So Grab, Gojek, many of the other players are also attacking financial services. But their vision is to attack it from their captive user base with a B2C approach. And that means they're facing, B2C risks, B2C collection risk, and also B2C sort of insurance risk. There's self-selection risk when it comes to B2C. So for us, we work through groups, and that's something I don't think the big companies will go after because it takes some client servicing. So the groups in our case offer compulsory buying that improves the risk ratios, that helps us to detect fraud. And also for the financing pieces, because we collect from the groups, then we face a different kind of risk, not consumer credit risk, but a much lower sort of business collection risk. So that's how we're able to deliver much better pricing and also much lower interest rates or admin fees, right, for the financing piece.
Can you give us an example? What are these groups? Just illustrative.
So it's for this slide, we work with platforms like Gojek, Lalamove, Ritasi. And then in Indonesia, Chocolate Factory, some outsourcing agencies, right? So an example, if I were to approach one of these clients, I would say, well, you have a worker tiering system. So you can match your tiers with my subscription models or my subscription memberships tiers. And because they buy it in bulk across, everybody in the top tier, that's a much lower risk. At the same time, they do some kind of earnings advances. I forward the money to the workers, but I collect from these businesses at the end of the pay cycle or when the invoices are due. And so I collect from the business, and that's not consumer credit risk. That's much lower risk.
So from a business model point of view, can you just go a little bit deeper into how you make money, top line, and what your bottom line looks like at this stage?
Actually, could you just flow that through in terms of how you share with these platforms also, so we know? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, okay, so this is the waterfall model of the various variable costs. So for subscription fees, now we have a few tiers of membership, but essentially you'd be paying for adding workers into our group policy. So one thing different about Gigacover is that we own the group policies for for various kinds of protection. So we in fact act as a client to insurers that reduces the need for us to be licensed. So I hold the group policy for earnings protection, personal accident, critical illness, for different amounts of coverage, of course. So if you're in a higher tier, then you have a higher amount of sum assured or daily income payout. And so that might cost you more in premiums, right? So if you take the current numbers here, then we're looking at a contribution margin for subscription fees of about 20%. Now, the other major add-on product we have is earnings advances, and we charge an admin fee that is tiered depending on the amount of money advanced. So there are 3 tiers, separate admin fees. Similarly, we have costs, transfer costs, ops costs, but the biggest one is that we are borrowing from a line of credit, right? This is with a range of providers, peer-to-peer lenders to banks. So we pay an interest rate, but we also collect admin fees, contribution margins roughly 35%.
Does this take into consideration your customer acquisition costs?
Yes, this would go into ops and marketing.
So how much is that?
So our average customer acquisition cost now is about $2.50 in Singapore, and less than $1 in Indonesia.
Let us know. I guess this isn't. Can you let us know? For one of I guess a client that or a platform that you guys have worked with for 6 months or more. What percentage of their workforce is actually onboarded with you guys, or what percentage of that workforce uses your services?
Okay, for a typical client, they would enroll their top tier into our program. So probably the highest tier membership, and then the second tier gets the second tier membership. The third and fourth tiers probably will not get added, and instead they have access to buy these subscriptions and add-on products at the same prices. Right, so first 2 tiers sponsored, second 2 tiers not. Now, first 2 tiers roughly anywhere from 25% to 35% of the user base, and then from the remaining 50-60%, roughly 10 to 15% convert, so they buy on their own, or they take on an add-on product on their own.
And so has that been the case then for a Grab or a Gojek, for example? I mean, 25% of all of their drivers and couriers are onboarded with the program already?
Yes, so that is the case for Gojek, which is our biggest client, and we're seeing that also for some of the newer clients we're signing up. It really depends on the industry norms. So for the tiering programs, the impact of COVID on the industry, because the worker tiers are defined. And it really is up to the workers, if they are working for this business, whether they can meet those tiers to get into those levels of benefits. Right. So, for example, in Singapore during the circuit breaker, many workers dropped off the top tiers. They were just unable to drive that much. Whereas in the food delivery space, we saw that more workers were able to get into those top tiers. Right. So we do see fluctuations in the number of workers covered.
Sorry, just on your customers, can I just have a little feel for Gojek in particular? What percentage of your overall revenues does Gojek represent? And then your top 3 or 5 customers, what sort of concentration you have now?
Yeah, so Gojek was our earliest customer, and right now they still stand at about 40% of our revenue. The next biggest player would take about 20%, and then the third probably 10%, and then the rest, it's just really the long tail aggregation.
So how do you avoid concentration risk at this stage?
So one of the things is that instead of sponsorship, or instead of driving sponsorship at the client level, we're trying to drive more self-purchasing of the subscriptions from the users, so making it more attractive from the workers themselves who are not in the top tiers to buy, right? The workers are not tied to the platforms, they move around. So even though they may come from Gojek in this quarter, they may work with somebody else in the next quarter. So as long as we acquire the users, they're probably going to be mobile, and so we can count them as acquired customers even if they move out of Gojek. And if we can drive this, my projections is we're seeing more even spread between sponsored subscriptions and user-bought subscriptions, and that will ease us off the concentration risk of clients purchasing. That's one. Then the second part is, of course, we're going after more clients of similar sizes in all the countries, right? And so that will help us diversify away from a couple of large players.
What's between contribution margin and net margin?
So everything here is variable costs. So after contribution margin, it would be fixed overheads like group level, salaries, rent, that sort of thing. So overall,
you outsource everything right now in the sense of you use another third party to give you funding for the earnings advances and for the insurance, and you guys don't do it yourselves, right?
Right. So for the insurance piece, we act as a group policyholder. And so we say we have the 50,000 users. We want of these age ranges, occupation ranges, and we find the best price, right? So we get a rack rate for these prices. That's this stuff here. So we don't take any risk if the claims exceeds the premiums paid, right? That's on the insurer. But we have, of course, an incentive to ensure that this risk pool is well maintained, so that our cost of goods sold is managed. And on the advances side, also, yes, we have a line of credit, but then we are responsible for the risk. If we don't get paid, we don't collect, we still have to pay off the interest on this line of credit.
Judges, we have less than 2 minutes left, so one last question.
We saw another insurance player today, and they actually went ahead and got a license and become an insurance provider. Is that an aspiration for you, or are you going to stay intermediary?
No, so that's not an aspiration for us. We feel that our core is building out an incentives and benefit system. That's these products, but also the software and operational software around it. So it's what the clients use to manage the worker tiers. It's what the workers use to manage the benefits. So that's our core. In those core financial products, however, we currently don't see a need to take on the full stack. I think the innovation and the support we're having now is sufficient. There might be a point where we cannot innovate any further and we'll need to take on supply. But I don't think that inflection point will happen until we hit 25 or 30 million GWP.
Great. Thank you very much, Emerson. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Judges.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'd like to welcome our final startup for this competition, the team from Zero, creating a holistic plant-based food and beverage ecosystem in China.
Hi, everyone. My name is Franklin Yao. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Yokwai Group, parent company of Zero. First off, I just want to say I'm very grateful to be here, and I'm thankful to ATEC for giving us this platform. Since we last spoke in May, we've made the bold move of crossing the chasm, and we're landing across the chasm as we speak. We were selected as one of 50 SMEs around the world, only 2 in China to be recognized as a best small business in the United Nations Food Systems Summit competition. We also signed a historic agreement with Accor Group and their 500 hotels. So we're rolling out across 500 hotels across mainland China. New B2C products.
Do you mind just, we're going to put your, hi Frank, sorry, do you mind just pausing for a second? I think your presentation's not showing up. So I'm just going to make sure your presentation can be seen by everybody.
Okay.
Can you see our slides here?
Yes, we can see them. Do you want to put it full screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can feel free to start again, Frank.
Are we good now? Yeah. Okay. So okay.
Could you make your presentation full screen?
It should be full screen right there. Sorry about that.
Maybe put in slideshow mode.
Is this in slideshow mode?
We can see your.
Is this in slideshow mode?
No, not yet. We can see it. It's just a little small.
It's on full screen from our side.
We see your script as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have a local version of their?
Presenter view. Is this work? Presenter view. Is this work?
You might want to hide your notes. I think we can see the speaker notes.
Okay.
Or we just read it.
Yeah.
Or not. It's perfectly fine. Whatever you're comfortable with.
No. Let's just present.
Yeah, that's fine. Actually, this works. So
now we're good. Okay. All right.
Yes. So please go ahead.
Let's get started. I'm Franklin Yao. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Yokai Group. We're grateful to be here. Thankful for ATEC to put us up here on this platform. We last spoke in May. Since then, we've made the bold step of crossing the chasm. And that means that we're targeting the mainstream consumer. We're landing across the chasm as we speak. Since May, we've won we were selected as one of 50 best small businesses by the United Nations Food System Summit. Only 2 companies were chosen from China, so it's a great honor for us. We've also signed a historic agreement with Accor Group to roll out at their 500 hotels across mainland China, Hong Kong, and Macau. And we've launched 7 new B2C products. It's a chef-driven line. It's going to be available at pretty much every high-end supermarket across China. And it's developed by these kind of master celebrity chefs. And even though it's a 100% vegan product, the focus is on great ingredients, means that you can rest assured, and you know it's delicious because these chefs put their love into the product. And we used to sell solely to our WeChat community, but now we're launching on 2 major platforms, the Jingdong platform and on Douyin, to have a much wider reach now for our 2C products. And we've developed a series of new B2B products that Can you hear?
Hi, Frank. Sorry, it's Voon. Sorry to interrupt, but your slides are not advancing. We can only see your title slide right now.
This might be a China internet issue.
Do we have a local version of their presentation?
Yeah. Maybe we can
so, Frank, we have a local version of your presentation here. So why don't we just, if you give us a second, we'll load those up, and then you just let us know when you would like to advance the slide.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I think this is a VPN issue.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people in this room are very familiar with that. So, for those that don't know, Frank is dialing in from Shanghai. So, I assume it's somewhere in Shanghai. Okay. Yes, we have your presentation on up now. Do you want to just tell us which slide that you want to start off?
Yeah, let's start from the chef slide. We appreciate everybody's patience. Keep going down.
Do you know which is that slide number? Okay, you can see it.
It's the red one.
Keep going.
Slide 5.
Back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's. So we've launched. Let's start from the slide.
That's okay. We'll get to slide 5. Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, so we've learned a lot from the market. Based on that, we've developed a 2C line of chef line. We're going to be available at every high-end supermarket across China over the next 2 months. It's a fully vegan product, but the emphasis is on you've got great ingredients, and so you can rest assured. And because it's developed by chefs, you know it's going to taste delicious. Next slide. We've also learned from our 2B, we're launching it in these platforms that we have not previously been on. So Jingdong on TikTok, so it's a much larger reach for our new 2C line of products. Next slide. Next slide. And we've also learned a lot on the to-B side. So based on working with our customer over the last 2 years, we have these new products that are more SKUs. So patties, bolognese sauce, meatballs, bacon bits, and a whole new set coming up. But it's more SKUs for us to sell, but it's easier for our customers' kitchens. We're in contract with. It's going to be the largest plant-based canteen in the world. 7,000 employees in China, and Youkwai is the main plant-based protein supplier, also in deep discussions with the largest fast food chain in China. And this all unlocked by these easier to use products. Next slide. We're coming on 2 years, very appreciative of the reputation that we have in this industry, which is a high quality, chef-driven brand and this very professional organization. So that unlocks more and more customer opportunities for us because of the reputation we've built. Next slide. So next year, our goal is to go from 15 SKUs that we're selling and to 150 SKUs. So that means as an organization, we have to have the mindset of create quality fast, and to be able to listen to the market, to do tests, to read and react. The beautiful thing once you're in these channels in the food industry is now that you have these channel relationships, it's now your responsibility to keep rolling out new products and even new brands. Next slide. So next year, we're launching our second and third brands, and we're going deeper into the R&D side. So, working at the seed level to have higher protein soy seed, and then really having applied research in order to solve specific food science problems that are related to our product rolling out, and then to get patents. And we're applying for some patents on some of our solutions just now, and we're just getting started.
Move on to the audience Q&A. Actually, perfect timing. So judges, you'll have a little bit of extra time given the technical difficulties. So the judges, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Yep.
So thanks, Frank. We had some discussions about this topic today, but this is a highly competitive space. In fact, you see a lot of people going lateral in terms of product categories, and also even the meat producers are trying to play defensive. So long term, how are you going to survive, and how are you going to price your products?
Yeah. In the end, everything comes down to reputation and your team. So what we're managed to do, or what we're actually doing, like literally today and over the next 2 months, is we now have access to every channel that we want to over the next year. And the reason why we're here is because we've got now these products that fit the solution for the market, but because our customers understand that we are a good partner to work with in order to serve their consumer needs and in order to serve their corporate goals. So we can grow along with them. That means that, to answer your question, in the end, like we're just looking after a few things. We're looking after brands, our ability to roll out new products, and then our ability to serve these channels. So if we can serve our customers well, and we're proving that, then there's an infinite array of products that we can keep selling, or brands that we can launch for a high-end supermarket brand, for a fast food chain, on our Jingdong store, with direct to consumers. And underlaying that so underlaying the pillars of brand, channel, and product is talent and capital. And those are the two things that we're solving. But as long as we can continue to recruit the best talents, that also continues to help our relationship as we serve our customers. And then it becomes quite a straightforward business after that. So, things like strategy and, what specific products or, what array of products, these are kind of subservient to those other pillars.
And sorry, just quickly, how are you pricing your product at this moment in time?
Yeah, we have to price according to the moment in time. You got that completely right. So right now, at this moment in time, with high-end groceries, we're going to be towards the end, towards the high end, on the frozen food shelf. Right now, to our current set of customers, whether they're top hotels, international schools, restaurants, we're priced competitively. But it's again going to be a premium to animal meat. When we get further along, let's say 2 years out, we're going to have to price competitively against meat, and that means that we're going to have to also add a component of producing ourselves. But that's probably 2 years out where we need to compete against meat. But right now, we're just competing against what our customers can bring to their own consumers, and make sure that we got the high quality product, and they can make enough margin on the sales, rather than trying to price to something that is fully a late majority mass market and pricing against meat. So I think you can say it's a little bit of a premium to beef, definitely more expensive than pork in China right now. But that's perfectly fine for this moment in time for us.
Frank, I'm not sure I got the whole sort of source, raw materials, production, manufacturing, supply chain. Can you walk us through that, please?
Yeah. One of our corporate values is to show that high quality ingredients come from China. So first of all, and great brands, global brands can come out of China. So all of our key ingredients for the Zero product, which is soy protein, konjac, shiitake, coconut oil, it's all sourced within China. And then right now we use a network of OEM manufacturers, both for our base Zero product and also for our 2C or our finished product on the 2B side. So right now we're managing an OEM network across China with our own recipe for the base product, and then with these co-created recipes with our kind of our chef co-creators, and then with our internal team of chefs.
So is contract manufacturing the model you wish to pursue down the road as you scale up, or do you want to own your own manufacturing?
We'll have to assess it against the sequence in time and the customers against time. I would imagine that at some point we're in discussions, let's say, with the high-end, the high-speed rail network in China. If we're going to serve them as a customer, or if we're going to serve the army as a customer, then we're looking at a much different scale of where we are. And I would imagine, we would have manufacturing specific to those channels. We're not there right now. It's still a little early. I think right now our customer is going into high-end supermarkets, and they're blind to cost in some ways, meaning they're just looking for high-quality product to feed themselves and their families. And, they're relatively price insensitive. So it depends on where the sequence is. At the same time, we have looked at manufacturing options, and we've kind of, based on our reputation, we have a lot of parties that are looking to collaborate with us on the production side. But it's too early versus where we are in terms of commercialization of the business and channels right now. But things change very quickly. Yeah. In 6 months, we might be seeing something very different, and that's the challenge of an organization, is to move very fast in this market.
Yeah, I think that was the thought that I was wanting to share with you. Is I think you have a very interesting opportunity to move very quickly, and or watch this space, or somewhere in between. But one would, I think, be minded to expect rapid change faster than you might anticipate. And that's where manufacturing scale, control over costs, COGS, and then competing on a much more sort of scaled basis, pricing included, is going to be critical. It takes 2 to 2.5 or 3 years to find a piece of land to service a large manufacturing operation at scale. And it may be something that then translates into your needs and requirements for capital, how you time that, and so on. But that's going to be a very, very critical decision for you, I would think.
And that's where talent and organization comes in. On the manufacturing side, now that we're selling frozen product at high-end supermarkets in China, it is opened up with the same distributors, convenience store. But for convenience store, it's very local, and it's not a frozen product. It's a refrigerated product that has a shelf life of 3 days. So right now, for example, in the Chengdu market, we're looking at manufacturers that can sell to convenience stores in a refrigerated format, still with the Zero brand. So we pretty much need to, it's not like it's just read and react very fast, and to continue to build the muscles that we have around manufacturing in a way that makes sense against what the market is. Now, we will at the very least have a test production facility in order for us to have, control over how we get our Zero 2.0 product, which we just launched, into a 3.0 version. So again, we have to kind of, do all of these things, sequence against the market, but also, align with what our vision is for the product and how we develop that. But the most important thing right now is that basic network and that organization that we have to serve that network is set up. And now we just need to make more optimal decisions fast.
So I think it's fairly clear that you guys do branding and distribution, and that's probably your strong suit. Listening to your supply chain, it doesn't sound like there's really any proprietary technology there. Obviously, you're working with OEMs.
I'm gonna disagree with you here. Sorry. I'll let you finish your question, but I have a point of view on research, but let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the fundamental question then is how do you, perceive the need to make your plant-based protein actually taste like real meat, or are you just going for a really strong branding where you don't even need to make it taste like meat as long as it tastes good, or you can brand it well. I mean, what is your view on that?
I think when you look at Paris specifically, we have the strongest R&D team in the industry. Again, we're really great at attracting talent. Ian has 15 years of food science experience, 8 years in plant-based protein, and his team and the culinary research team that works with him is very strong. Now, when it comes to R&D, you have to solve applied problems. So I'll give you an example. We're rolling out this really tasty, amazing Beijing baozi, Lao Beijing baozi, okay? And what we found after OEM manufacture is that the oil leaks to the bottom, and after you steam the product. So we spent 2 months, our R&D team spent 2 months to resolve this issue. In the end, we sourced a solution from a company called AAK, which works in fats, so that in the end, when the customer steams the product, they don't see that they'll never even know the food science that went into that in order to solve that applied problem so that the customer can have a great experience. And you can only solve that problem if you have a great food science team. Now, at the same time, in Sichuan, we learned that, in order to have the hongyou cao, so the dumplings, we want the Zero to stick to the skin. As in, it's very different from the stir-fried version of Zero. So we've applied for a patent for our solution where you can take a fork, you can, rub it against the wonton skin, and you can wrap the wonton and you can boil it in water. So for us, that's an applied solution. We spent a year developing a plant-based ice cream base. So we're getting ready to launch that. So when it comes to R&D, I have a different philosophy from this idea of, okay, we're going to spend 7 years. We got this magic, formula, and, the customer may or may not want to eat it. We're trying to solve problems right now on the fly very fast in order to solve commercial problems. And out of that work are patents or recipes that we can we can defend. So it's a different point of view. It's kind of like market first, strong R&D afterwards. And through that, like, if I'm a startup and I say, hey, you know, we're 3 years in, but I have this proprietary technology, I don't think it's believable. I think technology comes out of work. So I think you're going to see, just based on the scope of the solutions that we're solving, the strength of our team, more and more, technology. We'll be seen more and more as a food tech company, but it's subservient to commercialization.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I think we're going to have to leave it there. So thank you very much for participating.
Appreciate this.
Thank you to our judges.
Thanks,
Frank. Maybe another round of applause for all of our startups today. I think they all did a fantastic job. Certainly fielding some very interesting, thought-provoking, challenging questions from our team of esteemed judges. And one thing I forgot to mention at the outset was we referenced the fact that these were nominated by the alumni clubs, but these are the specific alumni clubs that actually backed each of these startups and kind of shepherd them through the process to have them here with us today. So Avant from Chicago Booth, Hong Kong Alumni Club, GenieBiome from CUHK, the MIT Club of Singapore with Gigacover, Cyberport, obviously with Hong Kong Decoman, MIT Club for Lifespans, Zero from the Yale Club of Hong Kong, OneDegree, backed by the University of Chicago, and PickUpp, backed by the Columbia Business School. And there were many startups that are backed by Harvard, but unfortunately they could not join us today. So let's give a big round of applause to those guys too. But thanks once again to all the startups. I think you guys did a fantastic job fielding questions, and congratulations for making it this far. So now I have two very important pieces of information. First, actually, for starters, please remain seated. We will take photos, and we have some souvenir gifts that we would like to give to you after this part of the presentation. Two very important things. First, voting instructions. So, as I mentioned at the outset, the judges themselves will now decide between themselves based on their judging criteria who they think are the top 3 finalists. But you as the audience, both here in the room and also online, have the opportunity to also cast your vote and help decide who will take home kind of the coveted title of ATEC Startup of the Year. So importantly, for the people here in this room, you will each have been provided, I don't know if you can see this, a very tiny little token. You have 3 of these when you came in this morning. So these will each represent 1 vote for each of your top 3. So outside, as you file out to go to lunch, there will be individual boxes with the names of each company on them. So if you could put 1 token in 1 box for your vote for the top 3 participants. For added incentive, you will then get a lunch voucher that will allow you to visit 2 of the venues that we've booked aside for lunch today here. I'll give lunch instructions in a minute. Could we go back to the voting instructions, please? And for those who are participating online, Hopin participants, we will have an online survey with 3 polling questions, essentially asking you who are your top 3. We are going to make this a limited time window, so probably 30 minutes starting from now. You have 30 minutes to vote. The vote itself should take only a few seconds, and hopefully you've paid attention to all the various pitches and the Q&A that have come before. So for lunch, if we could move on to the next slide. So these are our 2 venues for today. We have, very grateful to have Interval Pharmacy and Delaney's put aside sort of a set lunch menu for us. We will have lunch vouchers outside once you've completed voting that will allow you to partake in lunch here. Today's lunch, we are very grateful to be sponsored by SS&C Intralinks. Intralinks is a leading financial technology provider for global deal making. Their technology enables a secure the flow of information, empowering customers to work productively and confidently in initiatives such as mergers and acquisitions, corporate lending, debt sales, capital raising, and investor reporting. So please do think about that while you're having lunch. we're very grateful for all their sponsorship, and also for Cyberport as well, for helping to sponsor today's lunch. So it will probably be about a 5 to 7 minute walk through Cyberport into the arcade. So we will have ushers helping you direct you to the actual lunch locations. And as a quick reminder, we'll be starting today's afternoon sessions, which will have the panels for the startup cities, smart cities, healthcare, and the social impact investing, as well as the final announcement of the startup competition winners. We will kick that off at 1:30 p.m. sharp. So please bear that in mind while you're having lunch, and make plans to make your way back here with about 10 minutes to spare. So with that, please get your tokens ready. Please decide who your top 3 votes will go to, and please go ahead and enjoy lunch. And we'll see you here at 1:30 p.m. Thank you very much.